Hi, my name is Sarah Miller-Caldecott. I'm the CEO of the Power Patterns of Innovation. I'm also a great-grandniece of Thomas Edison. I've spent the last 10 years researching Thomas Edison's life, one of the most extraordinary innovators of all time. Part of what I bring to executives today is a translation of Edison's methods, his processes, and his mindset for driving innovation. I spent 15 years as a corporate executive in Global 100 companies driving innovation and leading innovation teams both in the United States and internationally. So part of my lens, part of my view, is to bring some new thinking to how leaders can drive collaboration and innovation in companies today. Drawing on Edison's masterful success, I'd like to offer you a couple of insights that you can begin using as you look to drive innovation and collaboration here at Cisco. One of the unique things about collaboration is that it often exists as the backstory to innovation. It's often something we put over to the side, something we don't think a lot about, but it really needs to be part of the foreground. It needs to be part of the things we pay attention to every day as leaders. When we look to innovation, collaboration is part and parcel of what drives our momentum and our success. One of the things that's very true about innovation and how we work on innovation as teams is that we think about it additively. Sometimes it's just step by step, what we do incrementally, taking us kind of linearly along, doing our part step by step. We hand off the baton to someone, they hand off that baton to yet the next person, and the process continues that way. This is a very additive way of thinking about collaboration. What we really need to do is shift our mindset to thinking of collaboration as a multiplier effect. You can see the acceleration here at the early part of this graph. This is one of the big differences in how we look at collaboration as a driver of innovation. Discovery learning is part of what drives that early spurt that you see. Discovery learning is different than task-based learning. If we can bring together discovery learning and performance and start to create shared meaning around what we're collaborating for, then we have the capability of driving innovation successfully. Another quality of collaboration that we often forget is that it is the invisible glue. It's part of what links all the parts of a project together. It really operates in a way that if it's missing, we notice. So if a team is constantly bickering, if progress is not being made, if people are trying to outshine each other all the time, if all we're seeing is incremental work and not new thinking, then we know that that invisible glue is missing. When we think about collaboration, we really want to bring forward the expertise of our teams. We want to bring trust to the fore, and we want people to feel that they are accessible to each other. As working collaboratively, we look at each other as resources, as accessible, and not someone that you're just going to hand off the baton to. It's very important that we don't confuse collaboration and teamwork as the same thing. Really, teamwork is really just doing your part, whereas collaboration focuses on the diversity of learning, the diversity of expertise that exists in a group. If we can leverage that diversity and bring it together, that is what drives collaboration. Think about your own teams. Think about the teams that you're working with right now. Are they working on a checklist mentality? Are they working on a task base? This is what drives that additive effect in innovation. What we're really looking for is to move beyond that checklist mentality, negotiating with each other about who's got the best idea, and starting to move to a different level of thinking, starting to work toward that multiplier effect. Collaboration is for learning and performing. Collaboration weaves together innovative thinking, trust, and value creation. This is how you're going to move the needle. This is how you can drive revenue growth. This is how you can drive new results for your clients. You are endeavoring a very powerful process through your Innovation Mastery class coursework. One of the most important things that you can keep top of mind is this notion of progressing from a low level of innovation maturity to a higher level of innovation maturity. Now, what is part of that? There are many different facets, but one of the core components is advancing your capability around collaboration. Collaboration will be a key way to propel you from that lower level to the mid-level and then the high level of innovation maturity. This is really, again, part of that invisible glue that keeps innovation moving forward in your organization. Collaboration is what shapes the conversations, and the conversations themselves are part of your mindset. So those things are all woven together. Think about collaboration as a core component as propelling Cisco through this innovation maturity cycle. There are three core things that I'll be addressing with you today. The first is this notion of teamwork versus collaboration. What are you really leading? Are you part of a collaboration or are you leading a team? The second is the notion of asking questions first rather than looking to solutions or ideas first. And the third piece is being a catalyst. Yes, you are a leader in the organization, but how can you play a role as a collaboration catalyst? How can you actually be propelling this notion of innovation maturity through your own behaviors and thinking of yourself as a catalyst in a new way? Edison was an extraordinary innovator. He lived to be 84, born before the Civil War and dying during the Great Depression in 1931. Edison had 1,093 U.S. patents and 1,293 international patents. But most extraordinarily of all, we can look to Edison as a businessman, not just a scientist or an inventor. I spent 3 years working with the experts at Rutgers University, which is the home to the Thomas A. Edison Papers archives. There are over 5 million pages of documents and notebooks, patent correspondence, business correspondence, all kinds of court testimony, many things that we can look to Edison to offer us in terms of what was he thinking, what was he doing, how did he hire people, how did he put teams together? What was going through his mind as he was developing his innovation approach? Edison was an extraordinary leader. Even though we think of him sort of as this lone genius working away in the laboratory, he actually had teams of people working for him throughout his career, from the earliest days of Menlo Park to beyond the time at the West Orange Laboratory. Edison had 3,000 people working for him at the height of his career, both in the United States and internationally. So this was not just a guy who had all kinds of formulas and inventions. This was a man who was actually pioneering new thinking over 6 decades. He was running businesses at the same time that he was innovating. So these are very real corollary problems that we have now as leaders in the 21st century. Collaboration was crucial to Edison in his success with the innovations that he had. You can look at this list here. It's really quite extraordinary. If we go back to 1873, Edison pioneered document duplication, an industry that exists with us now. And we can step through the rest of these: telecommunications, recorded sound, electrical power, motion pictures, and portable power. 6 industries which all exist now, which he devised in less than 35 years. At the 40-year mark of Edison's career, these industries and all the patents that were associated with them were valued at $500 billion. And if we were to look today at the ripple effect of all those innovations, all of that thinking, in the modern era, the value would exceed $1 trillion. So not only was Edison outstanding at developing new innovation, he created value. He created revenue and profit. And this is really what we're about. We want to be sure that our collaboration efforts and our innovation focus brings us to value creation. This has never been more important than it is now. The entire globe experienced an extraordinary shift, a global reset, if you will, with the Great Recession that occurred several years ago. Coming out of that very difficult period, what we're seeing is faster learning cycles. Product development timetables are compressing dramatically. The response windows that organizations need to be fulfilling for their clients is shortening all the time. So this means that collaboration is actually more important than it ever has been before. As well, we can think about a new mindset. Rather than thinking about what we have been good at, what we were great at 2 years ago, 5 years ago, we need to be anticipating and creating where we want to take our customers now. What is next? You need to be anticipating that at the same time that you're carving the path for it. This is what collaboration helps you do and brings that multiplier effect into play. Not only does this happen in a team, this happens at the level of the individual. When people are actually preparing to be part of a collaboration, they're bringing their best thinking to bear. They're doing reading. They're looking for associations. They're looking for new analogies and ways of bringing their best ideas to your collaboration efforts. Moving back and forth between members of the team creates a group dialogue. It creates group exchange, which is a fundamental part of collaboration itself. So all of this is framed as part of discovery learning and performance in the modern era. If we look at how Thomas Edison defined collaboration, it would probably be very different than how you define collaboration today. There are a couple of key differences that Edison brought to his thinking about collaboration that can be very helpful for us as 21st century leaders. I've talked about discovery learning and the fact that Edison believed discovery learning was at the heart of collaboration. But what he also believed was that complexity was part of collaboration. He didn't think of collaboration as easy. He didn't think of it as part of the low-hanging fruit of what it takes to run a business. He actually organized his teams for complexity. He didn't necessarily organize them just for efficiency. So in thinking about collaboration teams today, we want to examine this. Looking at complexity is part of collaboration when we think about the diversity of the team. We think about the makeup of the expertise on the team. Is it balanced? Is it varied? Or do we have just everyone who's got the same way of thinking on the collaboration team? That's part of the complexity, bringing that special grouping together of people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and dive in together toward a common purpose and a common goal. Edison also realized something else very important about collaboration. It really fuels your team when you can begin with questions first rather than solutions or ideas first. Part of what Edison saw when he began with ideas or solutions was a lot of back and forth with arguing over what was the best idea, what was the best solution, and this really wasn't advancing the ball. When we ask questions, we are beginning at a neutral point. This is very helpful when you have a diverse team, because people are going to be bringing diverse perspectives. So asking question first allows everybody to feel more connected. Very importantly, Edison also realized that questions are part of shaping context. And when we think about innovation, we actually want to shape new context. Context was very important to Edison when he was tackling incandescence, one of the most difficult challenges that he overcame in the late 1870s. We think of Edison as the inventor of the incandescent electric light. And in fact, what was true was that more than 20 scientists for more than 40 years had actually been striving to tackle incandescence effectively even before Edison did. Incandescence is the process of a substance yielding heat and light without being consumed. Very thorny problem. So Edison went back through and he actually read all the experiments, all the white papers of these 20 scientists over this decades-long period to see what they had been doing, what they had been looking at. And what he realized was that they all had been asking the same question. What will burn the longest? Now, after 40 years, they had not come up with a viable solution. And Edison realized that if he asked the same question that those scientists did, that he was not going to be successful. So he actually devised a different question. He realized that asking a different question would take him down a different line of thinking. It would allow him to experiment in a different way. And he could take this thinking across his organization to any area of endeavor. So Edison actually asked, how do substances burn? He wanted to understand burning and the properties of burning. And this is what we see when we look at his notebooks and see that he was experimenting with tar and boar bristles, hemp fiber, and all kinds of other substances that would not seem to solve the problem at all. What Edison realized in pursuing this was that the evenness of burning was the key criterion. That was the key to the solution. And what he realized was that bamboo fiber has an even cellular structure from one end to another. No matter if you bake it, twist it, impregnate it with something else, it was going to burn evenly. So bamboo fiber became the very first filament. Edison could never have reached that solution. He could never have found that outcome if he hadn't asked a unique question. How do substances burn? So this is one of the ways that we get off track today. We start with solutions and ideas, and we forget to just step back and ask questions first. It gives us a better way to understand what the context is, where we could go, what might be possible in our work. As you think about these questions, gauge them with what I call the IOU. Because we can question infinitely. We can say, well, what's the budget for this project? How many people do I have on my team? When do I need to be delivering the output for this? Or we might say, well, how big is the market? How many people will be using this technology? In fact, those questions are not helpful because they're not delving into discovery learning. They're not getting us more deeply into the challenge. Here are the guidelines you want to be using as you think about your questions. Is it a question over which your team has influence? If we ask the question, how big will this sector be in 5 years? That's probably not a question that your team has influence over. So be sure to consider that. Ownable. Is the question something that your team is passionate about? Are they willing to really dig for new answers? Are they willing to kind of go outside their comfort zone and find new ways of addressing the question and thinking about it? And finally, unique. Is it a question that your competitors are asking? If it is, you want to keep working. Find that question that no one else is looking at. Think about something that's new for your client, something that they have not been asking. This helps change the conversation. This is what moves the ball from that low level of innovation maturity to the mid and high levels. Asking new questions. And finally, As a leader of the innovation process, you want to think about taking on a new mindset. Think of yourself as a catalyst. It's very important in your innovation work that not only are you working with the teams that are part of your everyday experience, but you're also bridging conversations over into other areas of the organization. You want to be thinking about how people are responding to you. Are they bringing their A game? Are they upping their performance? When you show up, are they asking these new questions? This is what catalysts do, is they up the performance of everyone around them. So as a catalyst, there are a couple things that you can be thinking about. You want to be the person who is the spur for collegiality, the person who is drawing together and being that invisible glue, getting people to feel that sense of closeness and trust. And questioning is a big part of that, as I mentioned. A second factor, inspiration. Are you offering some of your own insight? Are you offering some of your own learning in this process? Do you see a vision for where it could go? This is part of what catalysts do also. They inspire their teams. Optimism. The best catalysts are the ones who believe that the solution can be found. They're not the naysayers and the people who are picking constantly and saying, oh, this can't work and that can't work, and looking at the glass as half empty. As a catalyst, you want to be positive and optimistic and authentic. If there's a difficulty, if there's a challenge, you want to state that. And then also state your optimism that you can move beyond it. Finally, catalysts are people with deep expertise. It doesn't have to be an expertise in the area of your endeavor. It could be an expertise in a related area or something that's even completely out of frame. We can look at Edison's teams and we can see catalysts from many different areas and many different disciplines. And these catalysts are the ones that actually drive the innovation conversation, drive the collaboration conversation. Importantly, catalysts also are the ones who help to define if the team is making progress. Are they fulfilling that sense of purpose that they set out to fulfill? Is there transparency on the team? The catalyst is often the one who is fostering debate and allowing different points of view to be expressed. Not everybody has to agree, but a catalyst will ensure that there is transparency. This is part of what keeps the team coherent. And finally, authenticity. The catalyst wants to be sure that people are stating what they really believe, that they're not holding anything back, that they really are bringing their A game to the table. So these are crucially important qualities that you can begin endeavoring right now in your collaboration efforts. Think about the team that you're working with. Is it a collaboration, or is it a group that is simply checking items off the checklist? Is discovery learning present? Are you able to blend discovery learning and performance to begin driving new revenue, rather than looking at everything in an additive way? Are you looking at that multiplicative effect as part of your collaboration? Are you asking questions first, rather than beginning with solutions and ideas? A lot of times, that's how we're incentivized, is to come up with a solution. But in fact, as the leader of a collaboration effort, you want to be ensuring that your team is asking the best questions and new questions. And finally, be a catalyst, not just a leader. Ensure that when you show up, everyone is bringing their best stuff to the table, that the sense of optimism, that sense of inspiration is present in what you're doing. This is how you will be able to advance the ball from that low level of innovation maturity, again, to the medium and higher levels. Collaboration is the on-ramp to innovation. This is what propels you through your work. This is what propels you to new answers. I look forward to having dialogue with you as part of the question and answer period in your Innovation Mastery course. It's been a pleasure to offer these insights, and I wish you great success.